What is going on, everybody? The Explorer and Historic Anthologies have been leaked, so it's time to take a look at the new cards coming to Arena. What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Roxora, and here we do all things Magic the Gathering. Today we are taking a look at this article that I saw just tonight, and I was like immediately panicking and had no choice but to talk about it. Typically, we don't have a lot of leaks in Magic, but here we got one, and this looks pretty legit. Taking a look at the game files, they mention MTG Goldfish in the stream in the article as well. So I assume that pretty much everything from here is pretty concrete. Doesn't mean that things could change. Again, this is a leak, so I'm doing this very tentatively. It's possible that tomorrow, when they officially announce it, that some cards could be different. If it is, then I'll probably change the video or take it down and make it again. But yeah, we've got essentially the full list of Explorer Anthology and Historic Anthology here, so we're going to talk about it. But before we do, if you could leave a like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff would really help me out and grow the channel. So yeah, let's talk about first of all the Explorer Anthology here. We know about 3 from both. We know 3 from the Explorer Anthology and 3 from the Historic Anthology already. So we already know about this guy here, Favorite Hoplite, which should be a good inclusion to the the kind of heroic decks, the feather decks, or just the Boros aggro decks that exist in Pioneer and can now kind of do some sort of a semblance on Explorer. There's, I think, a couple of other cards here from the same kind of archetype. Yeah, this article mentions that there's still some things missing. I've kind of already looked through the list, and I'm a little bit disappointed at some things, so I'll kind of note that. But anyways, the other card here we've got is Rally the Ancestors. I'll just if you want to scroll ahead and look at the list here, go ahead. We got Rally the Ancestors here, which is white X and can return a bunch of creatures from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then they get exiled at the beginning of the next end step. And then you exile it. And this is a pretty good card for the sacrifice decks, the kind of aristocrats decks that just like to get a bunch of 1 and 2 mana cards into their graveyard, maybe even 3 mana, and then just reanimate them all out, sack them, and then they go back to the graveyard instead of getting exiled. So yeah, this card is good. I don't know how much play this card really sees in in Pioneer, so I don't know, but if it does, I certainly haven't seen it with how much I've been playing. But a more notable card here is Ensoul Artifact, which can make an artifact into a 5/5 creature in addition to its other types. Really strong. It has a whole archetype named around it. Ensoul, kind of aggro. Stick this on an Ornithopter, stick this on a Darksteel Citadel, and you've got a really early beater that can be hard to interact with early and can just end the game. So like that a lot. On here we've also got a Mausoleum Wanderer, which is a blue spirit that gets bigger whenever you play more spirits, and can be used to counter an instant or sorcery where unless they pay X, for X is its power. This has become a main staple of the spirit archetype in Modern and in Pioneer. Really powerful card. But here's where I'll kind of note some of the exclusions is there is no Spell Queller. When we saw this card spoiled earlier today, even, I think, there was a lot of hope that we were going to see Spell Queller, and there is no Spell Queller yet. So that, I wouldn't say I'm disappointed, and I'm not upset, because I'm honestly not even that big a fan of playing against or with Spell Queller, but it does confuse me. I don't think the decision to include this card doesn't really make sense. I guess this will be good for the mono blue decks that use kind of like Curious Obsession, and kind of this as just a 1/1 flyer that can sometimes counter spells. But I don't know, I find that kind of weird. One of my happiest inclusions. I think this is a fantastic addition. 10 out of 10. Kalitas, Trader of Get. I think this was in my video of cards that I wanted in Explorer, and here we go. 3 black for 3/4 legendary creature, vampire warrior, 3/4 lifelink. If a non-token creature would die, you exile that instead, and you make a 2/2 zombie, and then you can sack a vampire or a zombie and put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. This is just a main staple in any kind of black mid-range deck. There is a vampires deck as well, I think, but again, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like the meta, really relevant pioneer decks, and Kalitas is a 2 or 3 of, at least a 2 of, I want to say, in a couple of those archetypes. So really, really good addition. Very happy. I'm going to be brewing. I think they were talking about how we essentially have the full Rakdos list now. I think we're still missing stuff like Dreadbore, maybe some sideboard cards, but like we're getting very close to having a full Rakdos archetype in the format. All right, next up we got Shadowborn Apostle. This is a little bit more of like a for fun one, I think. I don't really see. I haven't seen this card do stuff in Pioneer. I don't see it doing anything in really anything. I believe these cards will also still be legal. These cards will be legal in Historic, I assume, right? So like maybe this would be fun in Historic or Historic Brawl, but I don't know. Then we've got Tainted Remedy here, which is another kind of piece that is similar to like the life gain combo, whatever it is. I'm forgetting the name of the other cards, but you know what I'm talking about. The 5-mana enchantment. So this is like another one of those effects. If an opponent would gain life, that player loses. Oh wait, it says if an opponent would gain life. Oh, I'm sorry. This is wrong. This is a tax piece against life gain. I'm sorry, I misread this card initially. I'm not really familiar with this. It says if an opponent would gain life, they lose that much life instead. So this is counteracting any kind of life gain. So if they have an effect that's like gain 2 life, they go down 2 life instead. So this was essentially shut off pretty much any life gain deck and really, really kind of tax them or any lifelink creature. Really interesting. This might just be a sideboard card, which is fine. Still good to have. Down here on the list, not really going to do much in constructed, I might say, but I'm really excited. I'm happy that this card is on Arena. This is Elisha Who Smiles at Death. If you know me at all, you'll know that this is one of my decks that I have in paper in Commander. Really, really good graveyard recursion card. Just putting a creature with power 2 or less from the graveyard onto the battlefield attacking. Yeah, I'm kind of really excited to play this card in Historic Brawl, but I don't really see this card doing too much else. I guess we have Master of Cruelties in the Pioneer format, I assume, right? But we don't have it on Arena, so I don't like. Again, I like this card is only going to do fair things on Arena right now, so again, I'm not really sure why they chose to include this card, but I'm not upset by it. I'm like, I like the card, and so I'm happy to see it. But I will say that I don't think it's going to be the most relevant. Yeah, I'll kind of leave it at that. Searing Blood is really nice. Getting to deal 2 damage to a creature, and then if that creature died, the opponent takes 3. This is a nice card for the burn decks of the format. So you get to deal damage to a creature, have some kind of removal, and then also deal damage to the face. Really, really good. Should see some play. We've got Temur Battle Rage here. Everyone should know this card. It is really, really strong. Gives a creature double strike, and then if the creature is power 4 or greater, it gains trample. So you put this on a large dude, and you go to town. Yeah. In Historic, we have Death Shadow, so that's pretty scary. Like Rix's Death Shadow could like be essentially what it was in Modern, but in Historic, and Explorer. I'm sure that this card is seeing some play. I just don't know exactly in what, but it should be fun. Similarly, we've got Titan Strength here, kind of sticking with the theme of combat tricks. 1 red, target creature gets +3/+1 until end of turn, and you scry 1. I assume this is here for the prowess decks, or the heroic decks. You just get to target your dude, give it a bunch of power, and also kind of get some card selection as well with the Scry. So should be a good addition to those decks, or just any decks that want to pump up their creatures. Yeah. Got Back to Nature here. 1 in a green instant, destroy all enchantments. I didn't even know that this card existed, but it seems pretty strong with a lot of the enchantment decks in both Explorer and Historic. The Enchantress deck's really seeing a lot of play in Historic I've seen, and then there's Enchantress and other things going on in Explorer, so that will be really nice to have for that. A really, really big one here is Elvish Mystic. This is a card that I think, again, we had talked about in my video, and a lot of people have been talking about just having that extra Lenora Elves in the format makes all of the green decks a whole lot better. Just getting to have 8 of those effects makes it's so much consistent. Previously, people were running Gilded Goose or something like that in his place, and it really was not doing the job. So good, really, really good card to have, and should obviously see play and have an impact. Similarly, Tireless Tracker is a really, really strong card. I know that it had seen some play in Pioneer at one point. I'm not sure if it's still meta relevant, but it is definitely a welcomed card, I would say. Again, it's like it should exist for the format to feel like Pioneer. It's just a question of how like meta is it still. And again, I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. But lands, makes clues, sacks the clues, get counters. It's probably going to be really good. The Jund kind of like sacrifice decks that can like use Corvold and like do a bunch of stuff with Corvold could be interesting with Tireless Tracker. So yeah, I don't mind that. All right, we've got another heroic card here in Bladewise Hoplite, blue-white for a 2/2 human soldier. Whenever you cast a spell that targets it, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then scry 1. So this is kind of for like the blue-white decks that might use this card. Again, I'm not aware of this card having an impact in Pioneer previously, but I can definitely see how someone might be able to kind of use the favorite Hoplite and this Hoplite to kind of make a blue-white deck. You cast Curious Obsessions and stuff like that, and some counter spells, and you kind of got a blue-white tempo deck that also makes use of heroic mechanics. So yeah, this seems fine. It doesn't seem like the most amazing card to have, but it should be fine. Next up, we've got Siege Rhino here. Everyone should know what this card does. Again, I think this card is past its prime, both in Explorer and in Historic. I don't see this card doing a ton. That being said, it is nice to have. It feels nostalgic. It feels right to have it on Arena. But again, I just don't think that this card is going to do too much. And that's okay. Again, that's like, if it does something, great. If it doesn't, I'm fine with them adding it, It's like, fine. Next up, we got Slaughter Games, 2 black, red for a can't be countered sorcery, either by spells or abilities. And you name a non-land card, you search the opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards of that name, exile them, and then they shuffle their library. So name any card, get it out of the game forever. And unlike the kind of newer designs, you don't give them any cards back if you take something from their hand. This card is a really good sideboard card. It's just a question of, are there decks where you're going to want to bring this in, and when you do, is it going to actually work? I would say there are a couple of combo decks that exists in Explorer right now. I don't think they're meta enough, and I'm not certain. So, and it seems like this card is past its prime, just kind of like Siege Rhino, where I don't see this card making too much of an impact, but maybe I'm wrong, and it's also kind of just nice to have anyways, to kind of have that feeling of safety of, if there's a really powerful combo deck in the format, we have this card to just kind of be a sideboard card and nick it in the butt, as they say. All right, next up we have this card that we've already seen from, this was one of the cards that we had already known about in Supreme Verdict. Fantastic, 10 out of 10. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I think we have the entire blue-white control archetype at this point, or at least most of it. So really, really good. 10 out of 10, as I said. We also got Hangerback Walker here. This is a nice, powerful card that should add to a lot of the artifact decks in the format. Just a really good card that is good at pretty much any point of the game. You play it on 2 and you continue adding counters to it. You can sink your mana into it later, and then if it ever dies, it makes 1/1, so kind of checking for any kind of exile removal. So good card to have, and yeah, should see some play. We talked about Darksteel Citadel here with Ensoul Artifact. So just an artifact land that adds colorless, but it is indestructible. So you attach Ensoul Artifact onto this, and it becomes a 5/5 creature that is indestructible. So really nice, interesting inclusion. Again, that's pretty much the only way that this card is going to see some play. It doesn't really see play anywhere else. I guess we can do some things with, there's the land destruction spells. There's the one that ramps, your opponent, or ramps the player. Destroy land or whatever it is, magma something. I'm forgetting the name of the card, but that can be used with this card to do some ramp action. We've seen that, and I don't know, we've got another copy of that. But aside from that, artifact land, nice, good with Ensoul Artifact, belongs in the Explorer format. All right, so before we go on to the historic anthology here, let's talk about this list and kind of, am I happy with it or am I not so happy with it? I'm kind of in the middle. There are a lot of things that I like. Again, Kalitas and Supreme Verdict were like 10 out of 10, 20 out of 10s, or whatever the highest rating I could give. But some of these exclusions, like some of the things that are excluded, again, I mentioned Spell Queller, don't really make sense. Some of the inclusions like Elisha and whatever it is, I don't want to say rather Shadowborn Apostle really don't make sense to me. So I guess maybe they were limited on, because the one thing that they always do with these anthologies is they make sure not to give you too many rares. You notice there are a bunch of commons and uncommons here. So they're only giving you a couple of rares and mythics, still good ones, and they're going to give you 4 ofs, and again, it's still going to be worth the money or the gold or whatever you spend on it. But yeah, I will say some of the things that I'm disappointed on is delve spells, no delve spells. I really wish things like Abrupt Decay were in here and things like that. But it could have been much worse. I don't know if the bar is too low or if I'm just kind of like okay with this list. But I guess let's just say I'm not mad at this list. I would have done things a little bit differently, but I think this is fine for the first Explorer anthology, and hopefully the next one is just as good, if not even better. Let's leave it at that. All right, let's move on to the historic anthology here. So first of all, we already knew about a couple of cards. You already knew about Avacyn. This was kind of spoiled early. 8 mana for an 8/8 flying vigilant indestructible. Other permanents you control have indestructible. Really expensive, but should be good for any kind of reanimator deck in the format. Does exist. It also is fun for the casuals, I guess. I don't know. I kind of find that really weird. But it's there. It'll probably, again, see a little bit of play in a reanimator deck, and nowhere else. I'm really excited about this card. I remember doing a video about historic and what they could add to historic in the future, and Phyrexian Metamorph was one of those cards. I feel so like satisfied having made this suggestion. So yeah, I think this card's gonna be really, really fun. just getting to copy stuff, whether it's your opponent's or whether it's your own. Getting to copy artifacts should be really interesting. There might be some new combos now that you have Metamorph. You know, some interesting artifact combo that couldn't existed before because you know maybe it was inconsistent, or you know you need two of a specific kind of artifact. I don't know, but like I just think that the gates or the doors that which this card opens is really exciting. So really like to see Phyrexian Metamorph, and I called it, and I feel really happy about that. All right, we've got Knight of the Soul's Betrayal, 2 black for legendary enchantment. All creatures get -1/-1. This is, I think, more of a sideboard card. It should be good against any kind of deck that makes a lot of 1/1s, or any kind of deck that likes to, maybe there's a deck that combos off or whatever by making a bunch of 1/1s or something like that. I don't know, but should be really good. But as a wrath effect or kind of a protection spell or anything like that, kind of seems pretty weak. This definitely seems like a sideboard card against some deck that only has 1 health creatures. But I don't know, I might be wrong. All right, next up we've got Ophiomancer. This is a classic for a lot of people, you know, in the commander format or just like in general. I'm not sure why. I don't know why people like this card so much. It's not really that impressive to me, but I don't know. People like it, and that's fine. So we got 2 and a black for a 2/2 human shaman at the beginning of each upkeep. That's right. That's important. Each upkeep, if you control no snakes, you can put a 1/1 black snake creature token with that touch onto the battlefield. So this is, you know, a really good card for just playing, making the snake, blocking with it, kill something since it has death touch, and then you make another one on the next turn. So it's kind of a good roadblock, but more importantly, this is good for sacrifice decks. You play this along you know, Blood Artist or something like that, or something with a sacrifice effect. Mayhem Devil is a good card in the Explorer format, and then you can just, you know, sack it on your turn, upkeep, you get another snake, sack it, and keep going from there. So really interesting card to add. I don't know if that's going to be good enough. It's also a 3-drop, which is already, like, there's already tons of 3-drops in the sacrifice decks with Mayhem Devil and whatnot. So I'm not sure if this is actually going to see play, but I think it's interesting. And again, it's classic, so I don't really mind it being on this list. Next up, we got Lalia, the Blade Reforged. Just 2 and a red for 2/2 legendary creatures. Spirit Warrior, haste. When it attacks, you can exile the top card, and then you can play it that turn. And then whenever 1 or more cards from your library and or graveyard get exiled, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So this I find really interesting. It's another legendary creature that can be like a commander for Historic Brawl. It's also just a strong card, you know, on its own. Again, you know, you play it, you attack with it, you play cards, it gets bigger, and you keep going. So how this impacts Historic, I don't actually know. It probably sees play in some mono red deck, probably could see play in a mid-range deck of some kind. But I think the place that most interests me is actually in Cube. I've seen a lot of, you know, I always watch, you know, any kind of legacy or vintage cube, and this card actually does a lot in those cubes. Again, just being a good card, you know, play it for 3 mana, attack with it, and you generate card advantage, and it gets bigger. So like that, you know, just that aspect kind of justifies this card for me. Whether it does something in Historic or not, I don't care. I'm excited to play with this card in Cube. That's my justification. All right, next up, we got 2 more cards that were kind of spoiled already. We got Go Shintai of Life's Origin, 3 and a green for 3/4 legendary enchantment creature that is a shrine. And you can play Wooburg and tap it to return an enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it can kind of have a little bit of like a maybe enchantment reanimator kind of deal here. I don't know. I don't think that's going to be particularly good because it's 5 colors, but anyways, whenever it or another non-token shrine enters the battlefield under your control, you make a 1/1 colorless shrine enchantment creature token. So this is really interesting. We do have the multitude of shrines in Historic. Probably a little too slow and a little too bad for the actual Historic. But again, a lot of people are excited for this in Brawl. And if they are, all props to them. Hope they have fun with it in Brawl. All right. Next up, we've got a much better one in Tarmogoyf. If you know anything about old-time Magic, you'll know that this card is really, really powerful. Just getting to come down as a 2/3 or 3/4 or even a 4/5 sometimes as early as turn 2 or 3 is really, really good. So we've already seen that Delirium can work really well in Historic, and Tarmogoyf probably can be similar. It's just a question of, is a 4/5 good enough? You know, like is there enough stuff like having to play the other card types and play Tarmogoyf? Is that it, and just be a big beater? Is that good enough? I don't know the answer to that question. I will say we do also have Death Shadow, so like we could do like a Jund Death Shadow or something like that, Sultai Death Shadow. So like, you know, that's where I'm leaning is, you know, Thoughtseize into Tarmogoyf, you know, Thoughtseize again, you know, take more damage, play Death Shadow, like play more Disruption or play more removal. That's kind of where I see this card ending up. So if that does, I'm gonna be really excited because I miss playing with Death Shadow. I do like Death Shadow as a card, so I hope that does happen. All right. Oh god, here we go. Yeah, Glimpse the Unthinkable, blue black, sorcery. Target player puts the top 10 cards of their library into their graveyard. Mill players rejoice. You're welcome. Got a little gift from Wizards here. I'm annoyed by this. I don't say I'm like, I don't like it, but it's more of like, did Historic really need this? Did we need this? People already complain about Mill, and now I feel like it's going to be even better. Like I feel like this card actually might see play and might make Mill an even better deck than it should be. I have that's what I got. This is a really good combo with the rogues, you know, from Eldraine and whatnot. So you know, maybe that's good enough as well to kind of just be included in that deck, which again is still pretty much a mill deck. It's just a creature mill deck kind of. But anyways, mill players, hope you're happy because a bunch of people are going to start complaining. maybe not. All right, next up we got Chalice of the Void here. This has been a big point of contention. This was you know, kind of shown earlier in the day, yesterday, and yeah. So it's XX for an artifact that says enters with X charge counters on it, and then when someone casts a spell where the CMC is the number of charge counters on it, you counter that spell. So you can play it for 0. Any 0 mana spell gets cast, counter it. Pay it for X equals 1, so 2 mana total. Anytime a 1 mana spell is cast, it gets countered, and so forth. So this is really good in Modern and Legacy and whatnot. Because primarily because the amount of 0 and 1 mana spells that are really powerful are really common. There's a lot of them. Lightning bolt, yeah, for one. But in Historic, we don't exactly have that. You know, we have some powerful 1 mana cards, but a lot of decks like to curve, you know, a little bit higher. Especially you know, even you know, the aggro decks, you know, they do have some 1-drops, but again, they're typically curving out, and humans and other stuff are casting stuff like Collected Company, which this doesn't really interact well with. So there's not a lot of scenarios where I see this card really having an impact. Again, the amount of 0 and 1 mana spells in the format that are super dominant. Again, we do have, you know, Unholy Need and Dragon Rage Channeler just got nerfed. You know, we've got some cantrips and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like unless you're casting this for X equals 2 super early, not really going to do you a lot of benefit. That's just my opinion. Again, that's just how I see it at this point in time. That can certainly change, and if it does, by all means. That being said, you know, it's an interesting addition. Again, I don't really mind. It could be a sideboard card if that ends up being that. Again, so be it. But we'll see where it ends up. Next up, we got another kind of legacy staple. It's kind of interesting. In Retrofitter Foundry, 1 mana for a artifact that has 3 untap Retrofitter Foundry. Pay 2 and tap it, make a servo. Pay 1, tap it and sacrifice a servo, make a Thopter with flying, and then you can tap it and sack a Thopter and make a 4/4 artifact construct thing. This is typically played in standstill and other things like that in legacy or vintage. I don't remember whichever one it is, or both. And is, I don't really know how good this will be in historic. I don't see this kind of slow engine doing a ton, but it's at least interesting, and I'm maybe it does go somewhere. Who knows? That being said, the really interesting part is this right here. You may be confused by all of these additions. These are the tapped dual lands from Modern Horizons 2. I'm kind of not sure why they made, I guess, Historic Horizons didn't include them and are now including them in the anthology. It confuses me quite a bit. Maybe they were like skeptical of adding them before and now they think they're okay. Whatever it is, totally fine. Anyways, all of these are 2-color artifact lands. They enter the battlefield tapped. And that's it. This will be really interesting for historic, whether it's artifacts decks that use them, whether they are delirium decks or tarmogoyf, enablers. I don't really know. They could be amazing. They could be completely garbage and see 0 play. I think likely is it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I don't know. I don't really know. This is like a really hard one to evaluate. Again, it's just a question of how much, of a cost is it to play these, and what is the benefit going to look like? How much are you paid off? Again, like if a 4/5 tarmogoyf is good enough, maybe you do put some of these in your deck just to discard to seasoned pyromancer or something. So yeah. So anyways, let's talk about this list. I think there are a couple of really awesome inclusions. I mentioned Metamorph, I mentioned Ophiomancer and tarmogoyf and everything. I think there are a lot of odd cards in here. It's like, the one thing that I always don't really get with these anthologies, at least the some of them, the Predator one was pretty good, but a lot of them don't really seem to have a lot of coherence. These feel like a lot of random cards kind of just thrown together. Again, other than some of the artifact stuff going on here, but otherwise it feels very random, very scattered, and it's unclear exactly what kind of impact they're trying to have. It obviously seems like they're trying to add powerful the most powerful cards that they can without breaking the format, and I kind of like that. But also, I don't know. I kind of wish I saw more cards that were just kind of like a little bit more nostalgic and more I don't know, just more fun. None of these cards, like I don't look at anyone's looking at Chalice the Void and going, yeah, that looks fun, or Glimpse Unthinkable and going, yeah, that looks fun. Night of Souls Betrayal, yeah, that looks fun. Like I don't see anyone reacting to these cards and thinking they're going to be fun, but I want people to be excited about this. So I don't know. That's where I'm at, but I am excited to play with Metamorph. I am excited to see where tarmogoyf ends up, and I'm actually genuinely curious about Bridge and Ophiomancer and seeing if these cards do anything. So, anyways, that's gonna do it for just kind of my analysis. Just wanted to go through this quickly. Again, these will be coming, so I'm filming this the night of the 26th. I will hopefully have this out on the 27th or the 28th. Yeah, the cards should be out on the 28th, hopefully, if everything goes well and the servers don't break or anything like that. There's been all of these issues with the arena in the past. There's still, I believe, we have the notorious audio bug that is going around right now, so hope you guys are dealing with that. But I'm excited for new cards. Again, I'm really happy to see Explorer cards being added. I feel like the mentality was going really low with Explorer and people being like, ugh, we're never going to get new cards, and now we're getting them, and I'm fairly happy with the Explorer list and excited by some of the cards on the historic list. So I guess they, yeah. So anyways, that's going to do it for me. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed. I will link the article here, and also when they eventually come out with the official announcement, I'll make sure to put that here to kind of show that, yes, this is the actual list. And again, if it changes, I'll let you guys know as well. All right, guys. Again, if you enjoyed and you enjoyed this content, remember, leave a like, comment, subscribe. It would really help me out. And I will see you guys for the next video.